flying monkeys. If you ever watched the movie or read the book, The Wizard of Oz, this concept of a flying monkey is going to make sense to you right out the gate. In the story, the flying monkeys were sort of the minions, the kind of dark, mean assistants of the Wicked Witch of the West. They would do her bidding, and in the story of The Wizard of Oz, they would terrify Dorothy and her friends who were making their way to Oz. The flying monkeys did the dirty work that the Wicked Witch did not want to do and made her seem even more terrifying. The Wicked Witch, in essence, trained these monkeys to do this, and they basically bought into her propaganda and gladly complied. They themselves never bothered to get to know Dorothy and the Tin Man and all the rest of them. Now, the supervisor in this person's story was saying increasingly inappropriate things and making everyone in the workplace uneasy. This person who was telling me this story, she said she couldn't endure it any longer, and she started the process of making a complaint against the person, against this sort of narcissist who was really making her life havoc. Why can't you just see that he's just having fun with us? Stop taking yourself so seriously. Before this entire saga ended, and it's still, I think, going on for this poor woman, but before the point at which I had talked to her about it, she said it wasn't just the incident, but it was also the conduct of the people and the leaders she thought she could trust that had taken a toll on her. And in essence, the narcissist had sort of converted everyone over to his way of thinking. I constantly encounter flying monkey stories in divorce cases. A person is married to a narcissist for a long time, and when things start falling apart, the narcissist actually starts spreading gossip and innuendo to their mutual family members, to their friends, to anybody who knew both of them. And before you can count to 3, the family members and the friends start looking at the victim of the narcissistic abuse suspiciously. They start wondering, why is this person who actually was victimized, why is he or she being so difficult? Why is he or she not giving the narcissist a chance? Now, they may not think the person's the narcissist, but why aren't they giving them a chance? And why are they making things awkward for everybody? So let's be clear. Let's be clear on what exactly these flying monkeys are. They are people who subtly or directly are targeted by the narcissist, in essence, to do the narcissist's dirty work. Once the narcissist is in a situation in which someone is going to, I don't know, leave them or call them out on something they're doing. So it becomes very important for the narcissist to save face, to look good, and to come out on top, to win. So then they find the people that are close to their narcissistic abuse victim, as it were, or close to both of them, and they start using a variety of techniques to manipulate these other people. Now, what ends up happening is that all of this is ultimately painful and punitive for the victim of the narcissistic abuse, because in essence, what's happening is that the narcissist is mobilizing the people around the victim of narcissistic abuse and turning all of these people into a sort of a mini army that allows the narcissist to maintain whatever public image they want to look like the good person, the good guy, and making the victim of the narcissist look like a bad person. And what happens is it results in that the victim of the flying monkeys also loses their usual sources of support because they've been recruited by the narcissist to do their bidding, and the victim of narcissistic abuse is now gaslighted by people that they thought they could count on and traditionally who were there for them. It can feel for the person who's going through the narcissistic abuse as though they're being gaslighted by the entire world. For such a person, it might feel like there's no one left to trust, and it can feel deeply isolating And it can feel deeply, deeply destabilizing. Now, narcissists train their flying monkeys to do a variety of things for them. And these can include anything from spying on the victim to get intel on them. So an example of that might be, I don't know, in a divorce, flying monkeys may let the narcissist know that their estranged partner might have gone out, I don't know, for a cup of coffee with a guy, or drank too much one night with a group of girlfriends. Now, in the workplace, this can also happen, and it can result, for example, in the flying monkeys exploiting a friendship that they may have with the victim to find out then that someone has bent the rules in that workplace and taken home files that they weren't supposed to take home. And so now what happens is they get that intel, the flying monkeys get that intel and can use it against that victim of narcissistic abuse. Now, one of the key tools that a narcissist often uses with their flying monkeys is gossip. Now, again, none of us are immune, right? Gossip is juicy. It can seem like you're part of a dirty secret when someone is sharing gossip with you. And narcissists are aware of the power of gossip, and they use it. They use it liberally in family systems, in relationship systems, in workplaces. And they'll often initially use gossip as sort of a way of sharing a little secret, like entertainment. And everyone sort of gets seduced by a little gossip. And once they have their potential flying monkey on the hook, they keep sort of upping the wow factor on the gossip. And before long, they have the flying monkey believing these sorts of exaggerations of the truth that the narcissist may be engaging in the name of sort of this gossip. Now, in this way, flying monkeys are often used as a part of a very common narcissistic tactic, smear campaigns. Smear campaigns work when there are lots of people on board with the smear campaign. Now, narcissists are masterful, as we know, at using their charm and their charisma and their power. It's the same way they drew you in once upon a time, and the way they draw in other people. And they use that to draw people close, sometimes to gain their trust or just win them over and fill their ears and their heads with juicy gossip about the person who will become the victim of this smear campaign. Before you know it, the world or whatever system you're in with that person, they believe the narcissist's skewed narrative. And if you have ever been the victim or on the receiving end of a smear campaign, you know it is emotionally devastating, and in some cases, it can destroy careers, families, and lives. How much we enable narcissists. Now think about how often groups of people make excuses for narcissists. They'll say, that's just how he is, or she doesn't really mean it, her bark is worse than her bite, or my personal favorite is, you're the one who's being difficult. Stop blaming the other person. Boom. Just like that, the narcissist goes from perpetrator to victim in everybody else's eyes. Now, because narcissists have no problem treating people, as I've talked about before, treating people as tools and as conveniences, and as obviously as narcissistic supply, manipulation comes quite easily to them. Now, as a result of this, when they become concerned that somehow they may lose narcissistic supply, or they may lose face, or they may look badly publicly, or they may lose sources of validation, I don't know, because there's a divorce or because of a work issue, then they want to get ahead of it, and they want to ensure that their narcissistic narrative is maintained, and they want to protect themselves from looking bad, because looking good, that superficial presentation, is everything to them. Flying monkeys become an essential tool in looking good when something else is falling apart. Now, I gotta tell you, sadly, until a narcissist happens to you, a lot of people are really clueless. And because so many people are clueless about narcissism, so many people are prime targets for being turned into flying monkeys. You know, listen, the fact is you were played, or you probably wouldn't be watching these videos, the same way you've been, I've been, so many of us have been played by narcissists. A lot of people don't even know what this is about yet, so they're easy to recruit into being flying monkeys. Now, the most challenging part of the entire flying monkey dynamic is that it is incredibly isolating and alienating, and it feels awful to feel like you're alone in this struggle, especially when you think there are other people who are going to support you and aren't, and then have to recognize that your entire truth has been stolen from you. Now, the most horrible part of the entire flying monkey dynamic is the victim blaming piece of it. Now, remember, narcissists are masterful at painting themselves as victims. And as a result, they are able to convince their flying monkeys that the narcissist is the victim. And then the flying monkeys turn around and they will blame you for victimizing the narcissist. Those of you who've been through this flying monkey dynamic, and if you can imagine, even if you haven't, it can feel like living in an alternate universe. It's like stepping into the Matrix or something like that. So why do narcissists harness other people and turn them against you, for example, in this flying monkey dynamic? You know, for all of the reasons you would expect that they do something like this. Their limited empathy often means that they do not reflect on how this would hurt you or hurt other people, just that they're often breaking up a system or a group of people. People who are narcissistic or toxic are almost blind in their pursuit of validation and of narcissistic supply. So flying monkeys are, in a way, they're cornering the market on all of that. Narcissistic personalities are also very, very vindictive. So flying monkeys become a tool to engage in that kind of vindictiveness. Because what they're doing, in essence, is burning the sources of support, burning your sources of support, and once again, isolating you, which is a much easier position in which to abuse someone. In addition, narcissistic people do thrive on chaos. So flying monkeys contribute to creating that sense of chaos for you and for the other people around you. Now, in the most grim version of this story, the flying monkeys, just like the ones in The Wizard of Oz, may also start threatening you. They really, really may truly be doing the narcissist's bidding in that way. In that way, they might even feel like the people, like in a mafia movie, who actually rough up people on the behalf of the mafia boss. They may gang up on you. They may file lawsuits and issue threats and cut you out. And when that happens, you may find yourself in a very, very challenging position of having to take legal action, even against family members or people you once trusted. And that can feel horrific. That you might even understand having to do that with the narcissist, but you can't believe that you're having to do something like this with somebody you once thought was on your side. And there can be an interesting twist in these stories. The narcissist may turn around, and once they're done with the flying monkeys, they're done, the flying monkeys have done their harm on you, they're done, guess what? The narcissist may discard the flying monkeys too. Now that is an interesting day, and it's often a rather sad one. Sometimes at that point, that's when the flying monkeys may recognize the truth. And your flying monkeys may even come back around to you feeling rather contrite. They may even be genuinely apologetic. But after being hurt by them, after being betrayed by them, it's really up to you to consider whether you want to stick out that olive branch. Forgiveness making amends, all of that. Those are a very, very personal process. And however that rolls out for you, it has to happen on your schedule. And here's one more point I want to make sure that we don't forget. Please make sure that you never get recruited and turned into a flying monkey. Now that you know how flying monkeys are created, make sure if someone brings you gossip or tries to turn you around on someone you traditionally thought was an okay person, go to that person, go to that other person and find out what's going on. Somebody's telling you something about a third party, go find out what the real story is. You're not in third grade. You have the capacity to reach out and listen to both sides of a story and judge the entire issue that's in front of you, instead of being drawn into the sometimes rather seductive, gossipy world of gaslighting and theatrics and manipulation that a narcissist can use to turn you into a flying monkey. You know, some of you know what it felt like to be on the receiving end of that. You want to ensure that you don't do that to someone else. So what do you do? What exactly are you supposed to do if you are faced with flying monkeys? First, I'd tell you, definitely don't defend yourself. It is so tempting to try to explain and defend yourself to someone you once trusted. But I hate to say it, it's almost like one of those sci-fi movies where somebody kind of gets a chip put in their brain and they're converted into the alien race. Once the narcissist has their ear, it's like they're now converted into a cult and they can't hear or see straight. Those who don't understand this may paint you out as being paranoid and persecutory, which you know is not true. Whomever you talk with about this has to understand what this flying monkey dynamic is about. Flying monkey smear campaigns, all of it can be quite traumatic and quite triggering, especially if you come from a family dynamic where you were a scapegoat. And now this is the hard part. The last part here is that you need to start cultivating new relationships. You may feel at this point that you're in a dark spy movie when you're being flying monkeyed, and it feels like everyone is starting to turn against you and everyone's a double agent. But you've got to hold on tight to your reality. Flying monkeys, it can be a devastating experience because it's bad enough with the narcissist, but you might have even like, they're a narcissist, I can let them go. But the flying monkey dynamic is tough, especially if these are people who were once really dear to you and these are people you once trusted. And sadly, the way that a narcissist's mind works, it's always for them about strategy and it's always about getting to other people first. For them, life is like a big court of law and they're always thinking strategically. Now, in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy was able to throw a bucket on the witch and the flying monkey scattered and the witch disappeared. Now, unfortunately, it's not that easy in real life. In many ways, you do have kind of that proverbial bucket of water to throw on the narcissist and make those flying monkeys scattered. And part of it is to not play their game. Recognize it for what it is. And yes, I acknowledge that it can fill you with grief and it can be a really challenging experience. But once you don't play their ground game, you can safeguard yourself and also make a commitment to ensure you never do this to someone else. I hope this video has clarified what exactly flying monkeys are and elevated the concept from just that beyond that of The Wizard of Oz, so you can see how this might have affected you or maybe someone close to you who has gone through this. Flying monkeys are definitely part of how narcissists do sort of damage control when things aren't going their way, and a great example of how they shift the narrative to suit themselves.